Would you be able to live without your job? Because you were unable to maintain your bias under control, which is precisely what Natalie, a WNBA reporter, experienced. After months of targeting, Esquire Caitlin Clark is accused of spreading false information. Esquire's racism and unjust criticism was ultimately called out, and she's now incurring costs. But Caitlin Clark isn't simply taking things easy and relaxing. She's retaliating by bringing legal action against Esquire, revealing the reality of the unfair attacks and bias are there. She has been dealing with this since day one, but it's not just about basketball. Revealing a more serious problem in sports media, keep an eye out, because you're going to learn the truth about what has been happening. Before we jump, but behind the scenes, let's go right to the juicy stuff. To subscribe to the channel and like this video, by being a member of our team. Stay up to date on the most recent. The WNBA provides expert analysis and commentary. Don't miss any significant moves like this one. We've covered all the bases, so click like and subscribe, and let's jump in now if you haven't already. Keeping a careful eye on you so I can catch up swiftly, since this tale is Caitlin Clark isn't simply great to miss. She is the type of superstar that any rookie would be, who breaks records by lighting up stadiums nearly every game and causes supporters to flock to simply to catch a peek of her in venues, remarkable ability from astounding three-point attempts from almost half court to determine which assists depart. Her opponents scratching their heads. Clark, she's like Steph, but she takes it very seriously. Magic Johnson and Curry combined into one, generating energy and excitement each time she takes the court. However, this is where the situation takes an odd turn. Instead of acknowledging Clark's extraordinary abilities in honoring her during first season, Natalie, the infamous WNBA reporter Esquire, took a very other route. Esquire harshly criticized Clark for months, referring to her as a mere statistic patterning, that she purposefully failing to receive referee calls, and startlingly even implying that Clark wasn't ready for the physical demands and difficulties professional basketball play. Really, Natalie, have you ever even saw just 1 minute of Clark's playing games?
And Natalie Esquire is not new to putting down the efforts of Caitlin Clark and what she has accomplished in the previous season.
It's nearly absurd, since everybody who has witnessed Clark dominant is aware that resilience is precisely what makes her. Notable supporters and commentators have commended her bold approach to the game, continuously overcoming physical difficulties with double teams and defense. Honestly, if someone isn't prepared for the physicality of the WNBA, may just be the legitimacy of Natalie Esquire as a journalist for sports.
Just be clear, Caitlin tried to flop. She tried to flop on what happened. Like, that little shoulder bump, it was not that serious. Okay, Caitlin, I need you to be all the way serious and for real, okay? You fell down, the first thing you did is,
You've been caught now. Let's go even further into the reasons behind this. Controversy turned into something much. Esquire's bigger Natalie is not new to stirring the pot. Disagreement seems to follow her around wherever she goes. She has gained WNBA recognition over the years, media circles, for more than only her vivacious character, as well as for loudly and supporting her favorite teams with pride. Regarding gamers specifically, Esquire has demonstrated steadfast support. For the Las Vegas Aces frequently treats them as the only team worth discussing is this one. About, and we all understand what it's like to be a fan, is quite okay, and it even adds some excellent addition to conversations about sports. But in journalism, there is an important line. When fandom becomes prejudiced and unjust, reporting that ceases to be amusing and begins to become into troublesome. Esquire's devotion to the Aces, especially her partiality, Gray's attitude toward Chelsea, appeared to cloud her judgment entirely. It's almost like she wore specialized filtered glasses, limiting her perception of reality to what she desired to observe.
Natalie Esquire says, Chelsea Gray is the best point guard in the WNBA. That hasn't changed because she has a down year returning from injury. The disrespect on her name was ridiculous.
She often disregarded any Gray's performance had no flaws, regardless of how evident or quantitatively important. When more reporters highlighted out, Esquire glossed off obvious problems. Aside from intensifying her story, the best point was that Chelsea Gray, the league's guard, even when statistics clearly demonstrated that it wasn't just favoritism turned into blatant denial, but...
But is she better than Caitlin Clark? Statistically, nope. Is she a reporter that is standing for her favorite players? I don't know.
Let's be honest with each other. Every sports fan has a favorite athlete, and that's fantastic, but reporters are intended to control their fandom, providing truthful analysis based on. Sadly, Natalie Esquire forgotten the facts. View of this accountability that permits her personal inclinations to falsify her reporting and damage her reputation, regardless of whether she was ignoring subpar performances, embellishing small victories, or completely disregarding the achievements of others. Caitlin Clark. Esquire and other players were committed to promoting stories that now backed her prejudices rather than reality. This is where it becomes even more juicy. Due to Esquire's contentious methodology didn't only cause drama, it also ignited significant concerns regarding justice and integrity in sports journalism. But what precisely prompted Caitlin Clark to ultimately declare that enough was enough and let's go further and discover?
For me, if Rookie of the Year was picked today, I give it to Angel.
Okay. At last, Clark had sufficient and is pursuing legal measures. Why, since there is a distinction between criticism, overt prejudice, and Natalie Esquire did not simply cross it, ran past it, and thought of someone persistently prodding you every day, transforming each accomplishment into something unfavorable and completely disregarding, you'd fight back with your indisputable skills. That's precisely what Caitlin said. Clark is not merely battling, she is standing up for herself in every way. An athlete who has been unjustly singled out by unfair media, she's opposing the story that enables reporters such as Esquire's unfair public manipulation. Esquire, let's get down to business, went far too far in making the claims that Clark was either padding statistics or flopping. Weren't merely trivial, they were entirely people. Unfounded numbers never lie. The numbers for Caitlin Clark are screaming, clearly demonstrating that she is the real deal. Let's start by dissecting her. Clark's professional season wasn't simply perform well, dominating with an average of spectacular 19.22 points, 8.4 assists, and these are 5.7 rebounds per game. Superstar-level numbers rather than rookie-level ones.
Let's get into the stats. First, we'll pull up best point guard in the WNBA objectively, Caitlin Clark. In her one professional season in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark came away with an average of 19.2.
Chelsea Gray then enters the picture. Yes, that was the same Chelsea in the conversation. Natalie Esquire maintains that Gray is the top point guard in the world. Prepare for a satisfying giggle due to Gray's performance. The story from the previous season is quite different. Chelsea Gray's average was only 8.6, 4.9 assists, 2.9 rebounds, and points per game. Yes, you read correctly. Her statistics are far less than Caitlin's, and honestly, at this point, Gray and Clark are comparable. Point is analogous to contrasting a bicycle with a rocket ship with no rivals.
Natalie, I believe it said last year that a compromised Chelsea Gray was 10 times better than Caitlin Clark, which causes Clark fans to get...
Perhaps Chelsea Gray ought to give Esquire a thank you for getting her so excited, because without such inflated accolades, folks may truly observe how mediocre her most recent performances have been. Really, Chelsea, do you ever wonder how it feels to have the title of best without actually being close to the top? Living in Esquire's fantasy must be pleasant. It's hilarious that Esquire can easily, I should have mentioned those numbers.
Natalie Esquire also claimed that Caitlin Clark was stat padding and posted this on her social media account. Are we going to be upset tonight that Caitlin tried to chase the franchise assist record when the game was already won?
And people, this isn't a one-time thing. This error is a component of a larger problem. Clark has encountered prejudice in WNBA media, assaults since the day she arrived in the league, while players who are preferred by free passes to Clark's skill are given to Esquire, and skill are continuously questioned, while other participants who support Esquire's tastes are uncontested. A claim and defense.
what it is about Angel Reese, but there's been sort of this narrative that started about like the way she dresses. Like she's always showing too much of her body. It's her body, and it's an amazing body.
It goes beyond a single poor take. Clark has a trend from game one, been examined in a manner that many others gamers never encounter. In place of being praised for raising the entire league has nitpicked her, condemned and exploited as a scapegoat for fit-specific stories while other players may do poorly. Dubious dispositions or even obvious stat padding, and they receive a complimentary pass. It isn't journalism. Storytelling with an agenda.
Number one factor in her popularity is her ability and how entertaining she is to watch. You know, that's why fans of all races love her. That's why she's become internationally popular.
Caitlin Clark's The Complaint involves more than one reporter. The goal is to expose a culture of bias and partiality in sports. WNBA journalism has been flourishing. When Clark broke into the scene, attendance logs and driving sales of items, but Esquire was fired her contribution to Clark's fame based only on her whiteness instead than acknowledging her indisputable talent and charm. This is not just unjust and dangerously deceptive. To be honest, Clark's game is fun. People, she's a walking highlight reel, aren't paying attention due to what she appears to be observing because she is an exceptional basketball player. The attempt by Esquire to frame Clark's achievement as everything that isn't gained not only incorrect, but also disrespectful to each coach and player's fan who knows the game and what makes this. What's more bizarre is that Esquire didn't simply assault Clark on the court, that she was aiming for her reputation and character off the court, as well as attempting to minimize Clark's success by implying that it wasn't earned. However, fans don't believe it, and neither are Clark's supporters and teammates, who have openly supported her in the face of these criticizes Clark's sincere generosity. Sportsmanship and leadership are evident. Brilliantly in opposition to Esquire's unfair critiques, you've come this far. That must indicate that you're having a great time. The video, so let's have a little. The second time you press the follow button, it's completely free, very easy, and beneficial to us, continue to provide you with amazing material. Particularly if you're a WNBA fan, whether player, highlights are highlighted in the game, or behind-the-scenes footage we have, you're covered. And by doing what, you'll never skip a beat in terms of your favorite teams and athletes are available for tap. That come next. Okay, let's jump. Esquire's arguments are not valid. But that hasn't prevented her from doubling down rather than admitting the constructive impact that Clark has had over time to minimize it. But regardless, how many false statements do Esquire and don't lie? Others push the statistics. Since Clark's arrival, the WNBA has a higher level, and the admirers they encounter Caitlin Clark, you've gotten past the prejudice. Nope, she's not taking this quietly. Lawsuit against Natalie Esquire, and to be honest, we cannot hold her accountable. This case isn't about being sensitive, means retaliating. Opposing false information and controlling the media responsible, it's a strong stance not just for her, but also for everybody who has ever received unjust criticism, particularly in the sports industry, where bias in the media can determine stories and have an impact on fans' perception and even have an effect on careers. For Clark faced constant attacks for months. Esquire, who appeared more concerned with destroying her rather than reporting the reality. But Clark is more than a gifted athlete who competes in Warrior and a boss who won't allow. Her legacy is defined by misleading narratives, if one thing, that we now know about. The reason Clark plays is to win on and away from the court, and she's currently taking that battle in the courtroom, making it evident that she will not tolerate dishonest journalists to no longer be left unchecked. Clark has always acted in a professional manner. When dealing with this drama, dismissing criticism while maintaining her focus game, but even the athletes with the longest patience contains boundaries. There is a distinction between fair criticism and outright misinformation, and Esquire went against that line over and over again. This isn't about shutting down critics. It's about establishing keeping the record truthful and making sure that reporting is no longer a problem for the sport, since when someone consciously promotes lies and misrepresents facts, and falsifies the facts, there must be repercussions, for Clark's lawsuit isn't merely private. It's a message to the accountability of the entire sports media industry issues and based on the current situation. Considering this, the fight is far from done. Clark has totally changed the record crowds are attending the WNBA landscape, increasing league income and drawing in new viewers who have never seen women's basketball previously. However, rather than Esquire and a few others are recognizing her impact. Others attempted to destroy her, but Clark. Eventually, she said, "Enough is enough. Impact extends beyond ticket sales. It's in how people view the game. The WNBA is being discussed more. More than ever before, networks are making women's basketball a priority for young. Her journey inspires athletes, and however, some media personalities decline to recognize.
Hasn't just had a major impact on the WNBA, she's had a major impact on the entire city of Indianapolis.
Esquire's coverage did not only had an impact on Clark, it caused a stir. Impact on the WNBA as a whole. When a journalist with a steady platform propagates false information, it damages more than one athlete. It distorts how supporters, coaches, and even other players' perceptions of the game. And in Esquire's story wasn't simply about this was biased and almost insane. Is more than simply one individual receiving a few things are incorrect. It's about how untrue award sponsorships are influenced by storylines and even professions. Clark wasn't merely she was fighting an opponent while playing basketball. Continuous campaign of smears that attempted to undercut her achievements whenever possible while the public is manipulated by those in the media. Belief that they start pointless arguments can encourage animosity between players and supporters alike. And let's be honest, Esquire wasn't really tactful with her. Partiality, as if she were acting as a one-woman game of pretending to be. Caitlin. While Clark was away, Clark didn't exist. Shattering records here and elevating the WNBA on their own. Esquire was occupied with penning romantic letters to players who failed to place in the top 10 statistics discuss setting priorities in the incorrect location, and that's the actual risk that arises when prejudice in journalism hurts more than one player. It moves narratives, distort viewpoints, and causes division, and eventually results in a league where merit is subordinated to favoritism and the real top performers don't receive the credit they merit. Esquire, there comes a time when enough is enough. Believed she could manipulate reality, but the numbers, the supporters, and is now even permitted. Behavior is demonstrating otherwise. But if you believe that this was awful, but wait till you see how Clark's supporters came together in support of her, is when the exciting part begins. However, fans have taken note, and when I say observed, that is, they have removed the receipts called and examined the statistics. Out all of Esquire's negative takes, ever dismissed like a referee using an immediate replay for both Clark fans, both casual and ardent supporters have united behind in a manner that would make even the most well-known athletes are envious.
She drew a WNBA record, 1.84 million viewers to her first playoff game against the Connecticut Sun.
Her impact extends beyond it's enormous. She's up there. Similar to Taylor Swift in terms of cultural impact, imagine attempting to minimize a celebrity. Good luck with that huge yes. Caitlin Clark, Natalie, has been receiving analogies to the most well-known individual in the current state of the globe. Taylor Swift White was drawing a parallel between Caitlin Clark's celebrity status. The fan base is not only boisterous, but also among the most involved, enthusiastic, and knowledgeable organizations in sports today. These people aren't just naive. They are the kind of supporters who support her, who examine the statistics and evaluate performances and reveal absurd stories with icy. The finest part every time, along with the hard facts. Esquire attempted to distort. Clark's supporters retaliated by pointing out the facts. For each absurd take that Esquire made, social media was inundated with thousands of fans, with receipts demonstrating her error.
Caitlin Clark has been getting comparisons to the most famous person in the world at this point in time, Taylor Swift. White was giving a comparison to the star status of Caitlin Clark.
Esquire is most likely sitting in the meantime, somewhere wondering why no one is taking no longer takes her professional judgment seriously. Perhaps it's because individuals genuinely, it's funny how you should value facts over emotions. That functions properly.
The WNBA has never even been talked about in the past. So now to say that you have somebody whose celebrity is as mainstream and as Taylor Swift, that is actually incredible if you think about it.
Thus, here the line has been drawn by Caitlin Clark. Lastly, Natalie Esquire has been shown the door. It's a significant event, but not only for Clark, but for all those who cares about sports fairness, and the truth is out, and the message is being watched by people. Biased journalism is obviously unacceptable. Both to Natalie and in professional sports, perhaps check your facts the next time, Esquire. Initially, or even better, stop reporting to a person who will be pleased with you. Natalie Esquire attempted to manipulate the truth, and everything went horribly wrong. Not only is Caitlin Clark showing herself, she is ensuring that the media on the court be held responsible for their bias and lies and false stories. But believe me, this is only the start. With Clark taking, you can bet that there will be legal action, more receipts, more twists, and more. There will be drama shortly, so if you don't want to overlook even one update, you are aware of what to make sure you hit that before you leave. If you're all about the truth, click the like button. Sports. And wish to express affection? Sign up to receive updates on the largest. You won't want to miss these WNBA tales. What will happen next? And remember to activate notifications, because believe me, this situation is only becoming more outrageous. From here, and remember to leave a comment. Which team are you on, Esquire or Clark? Should the WNBA take additional precautions to? Let's get players from biased reporting to the discussion continuing. Thanks for observing, and I'll see you at the following. One should remain truthful, knowledgeable, and pointing out the absurdity.
Jealousy and envy and delusion all mixed together. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're delusional. People are watching these games because of Caitlin Clark.